I would like to thank some people before all of this. Thank you, Stone IPA, for providing me barely enough alcohol to get through the first episode. I'd like to thank a friend of mine whose father gave me this wonderful shot glass, of which I have used 15 times in the first freaking episode. This. Okay, I remember the first episode not being the worst, but the slowest. And I was drinking basically on average one shot a minute in the beginning. But as it got later on, it kind of hit a really lull. Because I don't take a shot for every bad dialogue or bad line that makes no freaking sense. Because if that was the case, this would no longer be a 15 shot for episode 1. It'd be closer to about 25 easily. With such gems as, would you girls like some food? Is sleep a food? Or, don't you think that fixing this locket is small potatoes for a blacksmith? There are no small potatoes, only big mouths. What the fuck? What? What the? Who wrote this dialogue? Like, I could. Even when they do write the dialogue, it's too fast paced. But I gotta start from the beginning here. So we start off with the first continuity error. Literally, they walk in front of this tree line in this gateway, talking about how they're finally becoming guardians. These are two main characters, Sage and Rosemary. I'm not going to describe them every single time, but basically, Rosemary is a wannabe look like. Oh my god, I can't remember her name. Give me a sec. Hold on. What's her name? She was Pink Diamond. She's the mom from Steven Universe. What? Rose Quartz. There we go. Rose Quartz. Dear God. Oh, that explains it. That's a lot higher alcohol than I thought it was, and it was more than a pint. We're about to have some fun, folks. Remember, drink responsibly, as I am through 2 bottles of water right now. Thank you, commercials. I'll actually talk about them in a second. That's a little insultive, but so back to the beginning. So we have Rosemary, who's a wannabe discount Rose Quartz from Steven Universe. Shorter, kind of like if they merged into one being, which I guess they kind of did because Steven is one, but regardless. So she's short. She's got like puff hair, but like puff like you take someone's hair and you make like the layer thing, but it's like puff balls, but you never see where she ties it in. So I have no idea how she does that. And she's walks around. She's got a big old sword on her back, which was her mother's. And then you have Sage, who is, imagine a wizard. That's what she looks like. She's got the robe. She's got the big pointy hat. Her family's got the big pointy hat, so you know who they are. Thankfully, she's wearing blue, like her hair and her ponytail. Remember the ponytail. The ponytail will be very important later on. But for right now, she's got it. She's talking. And remember what I said in the pilot, not even the pilot, the setup to this, I said there were some good things. And it's not earned, but there's a legitimate good scene where the girls are saying goodbye to their families. Sage saying goodbye to her mother and father, and Rosemary saying goodbye to her brother and dad. Even though the dad's saying they're only going to be gone for a year, which means they have a year of training to be guardians, which led me to some questions that I don't know the answer to, but whatever. They go on and they hop on a bus with a magic mimic, basically, that's like their storage case, which I guess it's supposed to be like the mascot of the show, maybe, Chompy, the mimic chest, but I don't remember it doing anything in the other episodes. So, nothing happens there. So they hop on this little wagon, takes them to this bus where a troll yeets them on top of the dang thing, which led to, once again, one of the worst lines I have heard in this. Oh, we're going to take turns sitting on each other's laps. We thought that'd be a good idea, because they didn't have any seats on the bus. So I'm like, what? Like, and here's where the primary crux of this whole series revolves around. And I'm going to be honest, it kind of is. This whole series is about Rosemary and Sage's relationship in a way. I say in a way because the plot changes later. But it seems like Sage has a thing for Rosemary, and it's pretty apparent later on she's she might be gay, based on her reactions with Rosemary and everything, and then later with someone else later. It kind of hints that way, so it looks like she kind of has a thing for Rosemary, and Sage and her do a lot of body contact and everything, and a lot of couple-style movements, a lot of gestures they have with each other when they don't look like bland pieces of wood. The walking animation on this, whoever did it, please watch any other anime or any cartoon you've ever seen in your life, because at least when you walk, you don't walk in a straight line without changing your features whatsoever. The eyes don't change. They don't blink. Their facial structure doesn't change. There's no natural movement. Which, by the way, for those of you curious, the majority of the 15 shots I had in the last 23 minutes is entirely due to animation and a little gay stuff. And I kind of cheated, but I'll get to them in a second. So, they take this bus, get yeet by a troll whose size changed. I'm not counting that as an animation error because you could say it's almost a perspective and where they were. I didn't do perspective errors just because it didn't really feel right, because I don't know what the true perspective is. And perspective lines are really tough in artwork, so I'm not going to harp on that. So they hop on this bus, then they go to a trolley station pulled by trolls. I'm guessing they're trolls. But they're not pulled by engine. Like, they have a crank going up a mountain, which takes them to a train station. Why is there a train station on top of a mountain? Why? Why would you put it on top of the mountain? Wouldn't it make more sense to put it at the bottom of the mountains where all the other flatline stuff is? I mean, I could be wrong. I'm not familiar with railroads, but I would imagine it'd be easier if it was on ground level. Easier to maintain and control and fix if anything were to happen. And also, this train pulley system where these orcs are doing this and pulling the trolley up. Can't you use engines? You clearly have buses, or omnibuses as they're called. So you clearly have engines. Why aren't you using the pull the stuff up? And this is the first 8 minutes where, if we're not looking at really, really bad watercolor paintings in the background and really copy and paste building designs, like, I mean, it gets really bad, guys. Like, I'm not even going to try to... I looked like I saw the same town like 3 times when they were showing off different parts of it, and yeah, it was bad. We get to the top of the mountain with the trolls, and we go to the train where they say, Rosemary asks Sage, do you want to get to the front of the train? So I'm like, oh, they're going to sneak on a little bit. She's going to use some magic, because it's mentioned that Sage is a wizard. She never uses any in this episode, by the way, but, you know, so she's got magic. Oh, so you're going to use some maybe misdirection? Is she going to, maybe have them find a way to the front? Maybe she's going to use some, like, mind powers or something, or some form of magic? Maybe, are they going to try to use the fact that they're going to be guardians in training? Because the whole point of this is them going to this high guardian academy to train to become guardians. Don't ask me what a guardian is, because I don't know. We'll learn about that more in the second episode. No, we won't, but I'm lying like the show is. So, wow, that sounds weird of me lying. But anyway, so the fact is, so none of that stuff. They just, out of Chompy, the magic mimic, Sage pulls out a broom that they can fly on. Because Sage can fly a broom. And Rosemary hops on the back and serves it like a skateboard, and they kind of hop onto the train and they get on to it that way, which I bring this question, if Sage has a broom that allows you to travel, why not just use that? I've seen Kiki's Delivery Service where you can travel long distances on a broom if you wanted to. Kiki's Delivery Service, a better movie than this entire thing combined. Even the live-action version, which is a little weird because they make Kiki a bit older. At least the actress looks a bit older, but I think they try to play her age down. But regardless, it's a lot better than this. So, I'm getting to some good, I promise. There's some good stuff I'm going to talk about here, because it's actually, honestly, one of the best parts of the whole show is coming up. So, they take the broom, they hop onto the train, they at least show their tickets. So, I actually thought they had snuck on the train, in all honesty, without showing their tickets, but they at least show their tickets, and they get directed to the caboose of the train where a bunch of other people are. I guess without any seats, I don't know if that's allowed in this world, if you could just go sit in like a freight train if you buy a ticket for it, like if you could just standing room only, I guess, but like I said, I don't know the whole rule about trains and whatnot. It's not like a subway where it's really fast, so, I mean, and it takes them a long time to get there by the looks of it, so, because by the time they get to, Lengar, which is the city where the High Guardian Academy is, Basically, it's night. And we meet, actually, now I'm cheating on my rules here, and I don't care what you say. You're not watching this probably. But I did say in the rules that I would take a drink every time something gay happened. Enter Sage's cousins, Elise and Alfonso, I think her name was. I always forget because she's an elf and they got really fancy names. Or Annalise, I think is Annalise and Alfonso. Either way. So they show up to pick up the girls and they let them stay at their place until I guess the academy opens or something. And in all honesty, another animation there on the train here with the girls either standing on a briefcase that magically goes away based on their height or whatnot. But so Annalise and her wife, well, I guess by that you would know they're gay. But they're not, I hate to say in your face about it, as much different than like an actual couple is. It's clear that these two love each other, and it's clear that they have a healthy relationship, and that they do work together, and they do respect each other's boundaries and what they should and shouldn't talk about. It's later mentioned on that, they're talking about these relationships and finding someone true, or like finding this new style of magic and how it relates. And, when one talks, they respect each other's boundaries, but they listen to each other. They still, show some affection, and they still show a legitimate connection. Honestly, in the realm of shows and whatnot, they're actually one of the more healthier couples I've seen. We don't get that much with them, and spoiler on that, we don't get that much with them later on after this episode. But I felt bad to put it into like some of the forced gay stuff and everything with the rules and everything. So basically, I only took one shot whenever they came on screen, much like I will for Squid Boy when he finally shows up. But then there was the strawberry scene, which I can't go, nope, I couldn't turn that one down. Like, you know what you were doing. You're waiting for the girls to go do something. That is the look of someone who's planning something. But either way, MA, remember, this is a mature audience, High Guardian Spice, adults. This is for adults, not kids, adults. This really cutesy, over-the-top, wannabe, Rainbow Bright Steven Universe knockoff is trying to be adults. And honestly, the dialogue, nothing. I've seen kids shows with better dialogue than this. For real, I could probably write a better set of dialogue and script for this show right now, and I'm already 15 in. And I still got another episode at least after this. So, the fact still remains though, they get there, they offer the girls the house, and they do something that I remember it, and I'm not crazy. So in this show, there's something called old magic and new magic. Pay close attention to that for later. But somehow right now, both of them can combine their powers and use it together. So I guess using old magic and new magic is not that big a deal. Wait till episode 12, that's going to be a payoff. So, I review episode 12 to get to that, but whatever. So, the room is actually pretty cool. So they live in an apartment complex, they go up a whole bunch of stairs. And we get the infamous line, "It's sleeper food." And they get into a little atrium. And what the cousins can do, I hate calling them that, the cousins, because only one's the cousin of Sage and one is her wife, but I guess I'll keep calling them that just for the sake of simplicity. So the cousins can create doorways to different rooms. So they create a doorway to the girls' room, so they have a place to sleep during the night. There's a doorway to the kitchen. I'm assuming they have like a doorway to their... They have a parlor later on in the series, so I'm assuming that's where that goes. And I'm assuming they have one to their room. And I actually like that. It's kind of cool that you can actually interpret this magic to do whatever you want and actually create with it. I love the concept of using magic in creative ways to adjust around it. And yes, we've seen spatial magic and a whole bunch of other things. But it's still cool to see people adapt and use it and make it feel natural. And that's one thing I will give this show credit. Some of the magic and the implications of it feel natural to this world, and they don't feel like it's weird and need a lot of explanation. We can infer what we're seeing. Now, the whole new magic, old magic thing is a very issue I'll get to later, most likely in the next one, because it actually plays a little bit into it. But it's something that I actually do like that they take the time to explain and try to build on, as it would be. So they continuing on, they create the new magic, and at this point, I'm like 11 in out of my 15, and it's only been 11 minutes, and you might be wondering why there's not that much time left in this video comparatively to the beginning. It's because for the next 4 4.5 minutes. I'm not going to be hyperbolic here. So the girls wake up, they have breakfast, the strawberry scene happens, and the cousins give the wait till the girls leave eyes. Then they leave, and Rosemary's necklace that she's had, that I think they saw earlier, I don't think they really hinted too much at, gets stolen. Oh! I forgot! One of the biggest continuity errors. I'm sorry for you headphone users with the smack there. I forgot there's a very important sleep scene with Rosemary and Sage. Hold on, it's not what you think. So, Rosemary goes to sleep and she dreams of her mother with some of the most bland dialogue ever, and we never see the mother's expression to Rosemary. Her entire face the entire time is like a neutral, happy face. It's so stoic and so rigid, I feel like I'm looking at a doll acting. And she looks like she's gone because she gets surrounded by these dark vines, which play into later again. And she's gone. And here's where we get a continuity error, which I'm curious if this actually happened or if it's like Rose's memory of it. Because in the dream, her mother, which I'm going to call Lavender now because that's her name. I don't know if they mention it till later. But Lavender chucks Rosemary her sword, and it changes to fit her size a little bit. It shrinks down a bit. And, which is important for later, in a later series, or later episodes. So, Lavender then gets surrounded by the vines, and Rosemary's crying, trying to get to her mom, going, "Mommy, Mommy," we've seen this before, and then she's gone, but the sword is once again where the mother disappeared, but she chucked it earlier, so what is going on here? So, continuity error there, but it just shows you. And this goes back to what I said in the original, my setup to this whole thing. The animators, no one proofread this. No one looked at the freaking screenshots. No one looked at the concept art to make sure everything flowed. And when it didn't make the requirements, the lazy SOBs got PNGs and JPEGs off the internet and plopped them in the screen. Because you can tell when something is part of the hand-drawn and when something is not. It is blatantly obvious. All the food on the table is basically PNGs ripped straight from the internet. And people have found that and actually showed side-by-side comparisons. The tray of cookies that Anais brings them in the morning with tea, which, once again, very nice of the cousins, bringing them tea and cookies, and a little nice way to open up. I always say, if you can start your day with a nice warm cup of tea, it actually helps you out in the long run. Keeps you nice, smooth, and calm until you watch this and you lose all your sanity. So, but yes. So, back again, they had breakfast, they left. So, they leave, and for the next 4.5 minutes, we're chasing this thing called a Trixie. Somewhat as an MOP person screaming. But, there's a Trixie, it leaves, they chase after because it stole Rosemary's necklace. She says it's a necklace containing my dad's prized boysenberry cheesecake. It's a picture of her mom. Stop that. Even it is. And we see Trixies do a mating dance and a mating ritual where a male a Trixie of some sort has a whole bunch of gems and jewels and keys around it. Which makes me think you probably should report that stuff missing. Because I'm assuming people are going to miss the sapphire, the ruby, the topaz, keys. Some of the stuff might be important, you know. Which I didn't even notice the keys until this round on my big screen versus the computer. So, they don't bring that stuff up. The Trixie's mate, don't worry, it's not graphic. I didn't drink for that one because literally, I guess I guess them mating is them basically digivolving into a winged form. I guess maybe somebody found a sunstone nearby, I don't know. And suddenly starts, before the Pokemon fans get on me, I notice now how flying Pokemon Evolve, just roll with it. So, they fly around, he grabs one, he wraps his rings up in her, and he swings her around and drags her to the ground. I swear this is not as bad as I'm making it sound, but this is what they do. And then they hit a giant ball of energy and explode, and that's their mating dance. Apparently, I don't know. It felt like Diet Hayao Miyazaki, because Miyazaki would have at least written this and shot it in a better way for actual sense of whimsy. And it hurts that whenever they scream, they sound like R2-D2 from Star Wars. So half the time when the girls are watching this, I'm going, R2-D2, where are you? God. Oh, and before that, I had another drink because we meet one of the other main characters of the show, Tyne. I guess Rosemary and Sage are going to get worse as this goes on, I assure you. But Tyne is kind of like in the middle. I have mixed feelings on her. She's actually got the most story and combined with this, in all honesty, and actually the most commitment to it. So I kind of appreciate that. But she does some things that I question heavily. And a lot of people, I guess, are supposed to like her and aren't supposed to like her in the beginning, but honestly, she's not wrong. She's walking through town and Rosemary's swinging her sword around like an idiot and almost decapitates her. And then she goes, "You might want to watch where you swing that thing." And then literally Sage tries to like make excuses and whatnot. And Tyler's got a really good line where she's like, "You know how you don't win an argument? By being pedantic." And she walks away. Which I guess is kind of snobbish and everything, but she almost got decapitated. Can you blame her? And she shows up a little bit later at the end and messes with Sage and whatnot, but that's neither here. Not even messes with Sage. Bumps in there and she just states a fact and walks away. So the girls, after watching the Trixie's mate, once again, not as bad as it sounds. The locket is broken. Once again, this probably sounds worse than it is. So they take it to a blacksmith to get it fixed. And enter best character. In my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinions. Enter the dwarf, Parsley. Oh, and I guess I should say Tyne is a night elf. They'll get into that a bit more in the second one, and I'll discuss that a bit more, what she looks like and whatnot, because she's actually more important in that than this. But enter Parsley, who's a dwarf. Even though her structure looks more like a hobbit or a gnome, but that's the D&D guy in me, so minus the nose. Because usually dwarves have like a bit more of a stouty nose. She's kind of like more of a subdued nose. But yeah, so they show up. She offers to fix the pendants for free, mind you. And they talk about going to High Guardian Academy. She's going to go there to learn blacksmithing, even though she's already really, really good at blacksmithing. And it seems later on, in later episodes, she's actually a very skilled blacksmith to be at a higher level of smithing than some of the other people. Remember, they're only supposed to be there for a year. I'm going to bring that up in the next episode when a line is said. So, she clearly knows what she wants. She wants to get out of the house and get away from the family. She's the oldest of 12 brothers, which, yeah, that's a thing. I guess dwarves have them in litters because a lot of the kids are the same size or similar, which I guess is kind of tough because Parsley is a dwarf, and they do have the dwarves stay pretty small. And when you eventually meet her father and mother later on, she's not that much shorter than them. Like a little bit, but not that much if my memory serves correctly. So she wants to get out of there. She's been in charge. She's had to run the family business. She's had to watch her brother. She's had to be a third parent, basically. And from an older brother standpoint, I'm not saying my brothers are bad or anything, obviously. But the fact is, I can empathize with that where you want to be like another parent to them. You want to help guide them, and you got to be responsible for them. And it does drag on you a little bit from time to time. Not in a bad way, but it can weigh on you. And for Parsley, who has to carry the weight of her 12 brothers, who do the work, by the way, apparently. They do chores. I'm not saying like it's Cinderella where she does everything. She does have a lot on her plate. And this is something I will point out right now, which is one of the really good scenes about this. When they're talking about all the issues, and Rosemary mentions that, man, no wonder you want to get to High Guardian Academy. You want to get out of this chaos, or something to that ilk. And says, like, Rosemary, you shouldn't say that. Now, every other character in the show would then go on a tirade and rant about how it sucks to be them, how the world's against them and everything, and how all this stuff. Parsley doesn't. You see in her face that she has resentment, and she's got a little bit of pain, but she's around she's around customers. She's trying to be professional. She's got potentially new people she could be friends with at the academy, and she goes back to her usual upbeat style self. And I can appreciate that a lot. Like I said, there was a lot of issues with this, mostly in the animation and the script writing and the storyboarding and everything, but there are legitimate good scenes. Annalise and her wife are actually a good representation of a gay couple. And they feel natural, and they don't feel like a force. And it feels like there actually is some love with them. And even around the house, there's pictures of them being together and being happy. And a random witch, but we never find out who they are. And Parsley is a strong, independent woman who's trying to go out on her own and break her family norms. There's a lot that goes in with this. And for a lot of people say the first episode, we don't know what a guardian is. We don't really set up too much. It's just kind of introductory to characters, getting us to the world, and kind of letting us see two creatures have sex for about 4.5 minutes. But, a mating dance and then ritual and that thing for about 4.5 minutes. But the fact is, at least it sets up for the next episode. So it's boring, it's slow, and there's errors throughout. But compared to what I got next, this is like cakewalk. And once again, it's a really good representation of three characters that I actually do like, and three characters I actually do wish were in better shows. We'll get to someone else who I actually feel has a potential for a great journey later on in the next episode. But for right now, I'm going to sign off for you guys. Episode 2 is right after this, and I think most of that 15 shots are currently out of me at the moment, which I'm happy about. But we'll see how things pan out. And in all honesty, it's not a bad start. It's bland. It's errored as all get up. It's probably one of the worst produced shows I've ever seen. But I wouldn't... And the dialogue is some of the worst I've ever seen. But the egregious stuff hasn't happened. Like, we haven't gotten to #KillAllMen. And Kate Leth is, one of the writers and producers on this one. So we'll let that go. But, so next up is episode 2, Disorientation Day. Will it be more than 15 shots? Will it be worse than the first episode? Yes. But we'll cover that when the time comes, because we're about to learn what a guardian is, everybody. You'll never know. Until then, guys, I'm the $1 Critic signing off. See you all next time. Later.